In this episode of the unofficial QuickBooks Accountants podcast, Dan DeLong and I are going to look through the new QBO portal and the new platform and show you what's in it, how it looks, and give you our feedback about it. How you doing, Dan?
Very good, Alicia. It's great to see you. How are you?
Uh, doing great. I'm really excited about this new platform, although as a content provider, I'm realizing that I'm going to have to start my whole world over again in the fall. So I'm gearing up for it. So we're going to start that process by showing everybody what to expect because when you know what to expect, there's not a lot of fear and anxiety around it. And the more that we can do to make this a seamless transition, the better.
Yeah, I think this is part the people that are have the most angst about this are the people that are currently using, QuickBooks Online and this platform, and then all of a sudden they come in one day and everything has changed. Where did it go? So new users, that are going to be getting this from the get-go might find this to be really cool, but the people that are using it, accountants, bookkeepers, pro advisors, and existing QuickBooks users are probably going to be the most surprised in what how this looks, right?
Right. I mean, we all know that human beings don't like change, but for those of us who have been at this for more than a decade, we went through this once before when they went from the original QuickBooks Online platform to the one that has the blue bar, that now black bar down the left-hand side, and that was a breath of fresh air when it happened.
Hmm.
That was a huge change that was welcome and it was delightful using Intuit's word for it. And so I'm liking the new interface, because I kinda have that same feel about it. I think it really improves the experience.
Yeah, when I first started working at Intuit, that my new hire training, the trainer was like, "If you don't like the way things are here at Intuit, wait a week," because
As it's you
it's
gotta
the
change.
one thing that is constant, especially when it comes to Intuit or any software, is change. Things are gonna change, especially now that it's cloud-based software as a service. You know, the 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 world that we live in is now changing pretty rapidly, and this is just one more iteration of what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. The the changes that are being made kind of I feel there's two purposes and intents behind it. What Intuit is going to tell you is that they're enhancing the interface and they've got new agentic AI, new AI tools, and they're rolling out new features like a CRM. But what I'm gonna say about it is that the menus as we know it have literally been in place since I think it was 2012 when they were put in place, which is 13 years ago. And as QuickBooks has evolved, back then, 13 years ago, it didn't do nearly as much as it does now. And as they've added new features, the menus have been kind of haphazardly added. And when I look at them, the place that I would logically go to look for something
Apparently,
isn't where it was. And I really welcome this as an opportunity to reconfigure the menus so that everything, all the new features are grouped together more logically. And I think that's one of the things that you're going to find and experience with this.
yeah, it's just getting used to where things are is really what it boils down to. And I think what is ultimately, going to be part of this is the. I mean, they talked about this at Intuit Connect last year, and this is now the first iteration of what that is. And but this is a combined platform, really, of two two softwares, right? Mailchimp and QuickBooks, where you're going to get more out of these cross-platform pollinations, so to speak, of as data moves between these two platforms, you're going to get more insights as a business owner.
Exactly. And I think that's one of their big goals is allowing us to see insights and calculations without us having to do all of that manually. So let's go ahead.
Let's
You
take a
ready to
look.
take a tour? All right.
Yeah.
All right. So for those of you who, everybody should know that we actually have a YouTube video for this. So you can go over to YouTube and we'll have a direct link in the show notes so that you can actually see what we're looking at. But Dan and I will do our best to explain what we're seeing for those of you who are just listening. So the file that we're looking at is what I call my Owl's Playground. And so this is a sample file. It had originally some real data, but that's like 3 years old now. So for those of you who are looking at the bookkeeping on our screen, don't look at this and go, oh my God, Alicia's a horrible bookkeeper. These numbers are all wrong. This is just a sandbox file so that there's some data to play with. So when you see that the company's losing tons of money, it is not me doing bad advisory. That's just because there's no income transactions in the file. All right.
Withhold judgment on Alicia's working.
Exactly. All right. So when you log in, it starts off by taking you to a dashboard and it says right across the top, "Good morning, Alicia." And then it has little circles or little ovals across the top for accounting and expenses and sales and customers, payroll and HR, time, projects, inventory, sales tax. And then it kind of runs off the screen. And if I click over to the right, there's more. There's business tax and lending. And these are essentially what they're considering different apps. Each the accounting features, the expenses features for all your money out, the sales for all the money in, the customers for your customer management. All of those are the centers. So you can click on any one of those and go to that center.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest terminology difference between this platform and the prior platform or prior iteration is this terminology of calling apps apps. And what was apps prior to this was third party integrations, where apps now is more of a center, right? Where if you kind of look into you know, go to the Wayback Machine of QuickBooks Desktop, they had, the employee center, the payroll center, the customer center. That's really what these are now, as far as what an app is inside of QuickBooks Online.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that might be confusing for people at first, but now if you get it, like you said, integrations is the word that they're using now for external data. Okay, so we'll go into those centers in a little bit. I just want to continue going down what you see on the dashboard. The next thing is I see business at a glance, and there's a link for more ovals, more little lozenges, get paid online, create invoice, create check, add bank deposit, record expense, and then another little link for show all. That allows you to customize it. So I think what this is just quick actions for the things that you do all the time, and you can set it up to add in. Wow, when you in the create actions list, there's like
Got a
literally,
wow out of Alicia there.
yeah.
Just scroll down.
Just about any quick action that you might wanna take, from adding a customer to creating a sales receipt to creating a sales order to printing your checks. Whatever it is that you do frequently, you will be able to customize that row
And
of ovals.
that's the capsules. You call them lozenges. Now it's like medication, but those are the things across the top there, or also those tiles that are being showed there below that, or is it just those?
This is just the little circles. We're gonna have to find out what Intuit is calling those little lozenges, or ovals. Let's call them ovals so that we can stay,
All
neutral
right.
on it.
No
So
no
this
time
is just
release capsules.
right. So these are the shortcuts across the top of the dashboard. Okay, the next thing that it has is a sales and get paid funnel where it's actually showing you your sales pipeline, where you can create a new payment request. So the first box gives you the ability to take money in a lot of different ways, make an invoice, generate a payment link. Dan and I just did an episode about payment links a couple weeks ago. Start a recurring payment, charge a payment, use tap to pay on iPhone. Like, they're trying to pull forward all the different ways that you can now take money from your customers. So it starts with generating a new payment. Then you have a box for invoices that are not paid. Then you have a box for invoices that are paid, and it says that I have 2 paid invoices, and I'm not sure where it's picking the time frame for what that is. I don't know if that's per day or per week or per month, so we'll have to kinda sort through that a little bit later to
Yeah,
find out.
this seems like the money bar that you would take a look at in like when you're looking at all sales
Mhm.
in the old thing, but it's not as colorful as those. And it by clicking on them, as you just clicked on it, it took you to that area or that place where those things are already pre-filtered.
Yeah. This is I think is an improvement on the money bar because it's actually showing you the flow instead of just 4 sections that were different colors that were kinda randomly scattered. It goes from not paid to deposited to cleared so that you can see exactly what's unpaid, what has been paid but not deposited, what was just deposited, and what is all said and done.
Yeah,
What I
it's
don't
kind of like, putting the bow on everything from an end-to-end experience,
Yeah,
whereas I don't think before it had anything to do with whether or not they were cleared or reconciled from the bank's perspective.
right. It I what I don't see here here's the thing, it says last 30 days, so you can change
There you go.
the timeline, to any time frame that you want. Last 30 rolling days, this month, this quarter, this year, last month, last quarter, last year. What I don't see is unbilled charges, but I expect that we'll see that when we get to the sales center.
Probably,
Yeah,
and plus all those desktop migrators who have all these huge amounts of unbilled, charges in there, they don't wanna see those anyway.
right, yeah. We'll just hide those for a little while longer. Okay. Scrolling down a little bit further, now it becomes the dashboard that is familiar. We've had the home dashboard in QBO for maybe about a year or so. And so here there's a list of all your bank accounts with their current balances that you can click through and go straight to the bank transactions area. There's graphs for your profit and loss, for your expenses. But you also now have top customers, which is different. That wasn't there before. And wow, it just kinda keeps going, keeps going. The cash flow planner is here. The income tracker is here. The sales graph is here. Your accounts receivable, accounts payable, your deposits.
And it's
Um,
customizable too, right? Like you can move
yeah,
these widgets around and move those, whatever you want to see on your dashboard when you go in there. I mean, it is allowing you to make it customizable for Good Morning Alicia here.
yeah. So when I click on that, it turns them all green, and then I can drag them around in any order that I want them, and I can also expand them to make them smaller and larger. There's also, select widgets for your dashboard where you can turn off any of them that aren't relevant for you, and, I'm sure eventually there'll be more that you can add as well. But, if you're not using mileage, you don't have to look at the mileage widget.
I'm curious. I see that My Apps, if My Apps refers to apps as in integrations or apps as as the
Oh,
QuickBooks terminology of apps now.
that's a good call. It looks like it's integrations. When I see it here, I see how many apps are connected and how many with issues. So if any of your integrations are down, you can actually see that from your dashboard as well.
So for the Intuit folks that are listening, be consistent in your terminology.
Yeah, exactly. That's gotta be called integrations now.
Yeah.
Alright, so that's the dashboard. It's got, and if you never actually played with your dashboards, these are also really handy because they're all interactive. You can click on any of the colored bars and colored sections and go into a report about that thing, so you can really dive deep on it. So, good
And this
job on
is
the dashboards.
customizable by user, right? So,
Mhm.
if I were to log into this, I wouldn't see your dashboard. I would see my own customized dashboard.
Right, which is great so that different employees can see different things and pay attention to different things. All right, let's move down the list. So there's a thin gray bar down the far left-hand side, and there's 2 at the top for create and for bookmarks, and then comes the dashboard that we just saw. Let's keep going down from here. So the next section from the dashboard is now the feed. And this is where Intuit has been putting all of their energy is in what they're calling agentic AI, where they are looking at your statistics and pulling forward information for you so that you can gain insights into your data as well as activities that cut down your manual labor.
Yeah, this is where the rubber hits the road on all of the resources that they're and development resources that they're putting in about AI and QuickBooks. Um, and another terminology, right? Because most of the time we think of a feed as the bank feeds. Now this is more broadened in business feed, which is same terminology or same concept. Is that things are just going to be kind of going down this conveyor belt of things of a screen to see, but this is going to be more business focused as opposed to just on the banking credit card transactions.
Mhm. The first thing that we see on it is that there are new emails for importing your sales and expense transactions that for the last probably 2 years in the receipts, you've had the ability to create your own email address at qbodocs.com and forward your expenses so that you can create bills or expenses out of them, but there was no activity that you could do with income, which I always wanted because when people were telling me money was on the way, I wanted to be able to turn that into a transaction, and there wasn't any way to do it. So, the important thing here is that QBO Docs email address is going away. It no longer works once you're in this interface. Instead, what they have is your business name plus sales at assist.intuit.com and your business name plus expenses at assist.intuit.com. And it's not just your users who can use these email addresses. You can give them to vendors, and vendors can email their receipts straight into your system. Um,
Yeah, or you could set up an auto forwarding, rule from your vendor, so that they don't have to necessarily do that either, right?
well, I have a question for you on that one because auto forwarding did not work with the QBO Docs email, so I'm wondering if
Yeah,
it works with this one or not.
well, based on what you've said, I would assume that it would work simply because in the past you had to be a user inside of QuickBooks. The email address that was actually forwarding had to be a user or registered user inside of QuickBooks. Now, if you don't have to, then I would say it should work. Magic ball, magic
I,
eight
I,
ball,
I,
all
I
signs point to yes.
Uh, I think your logic is totally sound, and that's a great solution also because that was one of the complaints that we had is that everything had to be manually forward, and so now if we can just set up auto forwards, then boom, somebody sends you something and it winds up in your QuickBooks without you having to do anything. Woot woot. We like that.
Auto magic.
Automatic. All right. The next section is an well, actually, let me say this about the business feed. The business feed changes. So what you're going to see in yours is not going to be the same as what's in mine because it's looking at your QuickBooks. And I've looked at this in a couple different files and it's never been exactly the same. So in the one that we're looking
Consistently
at,
inconsistent is what you're saying.
yeah, but that makes sense because you're trying to pull out the insights for that particular company. So,
Mhm.
makes sense.
So they put different, maybe weighted priorities
Mhm. I think
in
so.
in the feed.
I think so. Depending on your specific activity and workflows. So in this one, the next thing that we see is an expense insight for tax deductions. So based on your expenses, you have that number's not right. $219,000 in potential tax deductions for tax year 2025. Claim your deductions by reviewing expense categories. So then it wants to take me to my bank feed so that I can do my categorization so that all of these expenses become deductions. So it's kind of nice that it's tracking not just tracking the expenses, but putting it in terms of tax deductions, which is helpful for business owners.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always been kind of like my feedback on this, potential deductions or potential revenue, when it comes to, "Hey, check out your bank feed and categorize your transactions," because it's only looking at the financial side of money coming in or money going out, and clearly that must be a revenue or deduction. But if you have some workflows that is just needing to connect to that, then it's not a deduction because you've already taken the deduction in a bill or you've already recognized the revenue in an invoice. So it's a little it's a little misleading to say that you've got potential. Um, but I'm sure as time goes on, they'll try to, connect the dots on those things.
Sure. And there's a button that's in it that says claim deductions, and that takes you straight to the banking feed. Okay, the next section is, to me, this seems redundant. It says autofilling expenses keeps your records organized, and it gives you the ability to upload your receipts. But that was also, well, I guess it's a little different. The first section was giving you the email addresses. This section allows you to drag and drop your receipts so that they come in and you can turn them into expenses. And then overdue invoices, it's got a section showing all of the invoices that have not been collected on so that you can, send them reminders or do what you need to do for your AR. Okay.
Button up those missing things, right? Those missing workflows.
Exactly. And then over on the far right, it has another little drawer on the right-hand side that stays in place even as you scroll up and down, allowing you to upload bills, expenses, invoices, and estimates, again, through either drag and drop or by navigating through your computer to go find them. And then
Now
it's got
yours
short
is
links.
grayed out for images. Why is it grayed out for images? I wonder.
Where are you seeing
Oh,
that?
over right next to
Oh,
files,
that.
right? Hovering over that, it gave us some message there. When you hover over images, use
Oh,
your
this
phone
feature
to.
is coming
Oh,
soon.
got it.
Okay.
To be continued.
Yeah, the it's grayed out, but it says, "Use your phone to snap a photo or upload files. This feature is coming soon." I wonder if that means, because I use my phone, my QuickBooks app on my phone to upload receipts all the time, so hopefully that's not broken in this. Maybe the app hasn't been updated yet for the new interface.
Yeah, when you
So
hover over files, what does it say? Um, it's a PDF, so you can't
mhm.
use an image, so to speak,
Well,
to
right
create.
here, it
But
does say
then,
PDF, JPEG, or PNG file.
all
So
right,
they
they
must be working on that. Okay. So that's the business feed, which again is going to be different for different people and will evolve constantly as they create new insights and new AI tools. The next section is reports. This really hasn't changed at all, except that they have moved the financial planning into this section. So the performance center, the cash flow center, the cash flow planner, and budgeting is now all under reporting.
I like this change as far as like how it was, what it was before when you went into standard reports. If you didn't know what you were looking for, you really didn't know where to look, right? I just told people to search for it. If
Yeah.
you know what the report that you're looking for, there is a search field at the top, but now it's a little bit more makes a little bit more sense, where you can see the categories of the reports and then see the individual reports over to the right. So they really used a lot more of the real estate that they had available, and I like this change.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good call out. This is the first time in this tour we've seen that now there's a secondary navigation that appeared. We had mentioned already dashboard feed reports, the thin bar down the left-hand side, but now that we're in the reports, it's opened up another navigation bar. Like Dan said, it now shows me all the different reports uh areas all in one spot. So standard, custom, management, performance center, financial planning, I can see them. Now that does take up more real estate, but it does have a collapse button on it so that you can hide it and have more real estate for your, for example, the reports that you're
And
running. So
as I understand, they've been working with Hector on Right Tool to not cause the challenges that could potentially happen when you change a user interface like this for his application of Right Tool as well. So as I'm understanding it right, um, this should not affect if you are using Right Tool to help enter in transactions or using some of those functionalities that should not have been destroyed by them updating the user interface.
that really says something that they were willing to work with him. For those of you
Yeah.
who don't know, Right Tool is a Chrome plugin developed by Hector Garcia and Mark Corum that is a layer of an add-on of all kinds of additional tools and features that QuickBooks itself doesn't have, and I find it essential in my workflow. And, that's really cool that he Hector has enough leverage to be able to work with the group. I'm sorry, to work with Intuit to, make sure that this tool isn't gonna break for all these people. And I will have a link to Right Tool in the show notes because if you have not tried it, you definitely want to. And my link in the show notes also gives you a discount so that if you want there's a free version and a paid version, and you can, get a discount on the free version. So now my attention is heading back to the left-hand bar again, and the fourth and last icon there, it says My Apps, and when I click on My Apps, I now get a flyout for what is essentially the sections that we're used to, although some of them have been renamed. I mentioned them earlier. They were the circles on the dashboard: accounting, expenses, sales, customer hub, payroll, time, etc. So I'm gonna actually go to the first one. I'm gonna click on accounting, and as soon as I do that, that second level of navigation has now opened up and kind of taken permanent residence in my interface that I can collapse. But the cool thing is that they're all collapsible. So if I'm working in the accounting center, which was called transactions, I can see for my QBOA, my client overview, and books review that came from my QBOA, and then transactions, reconcile, chart of accounts. My accountant has moved up here. That's super cool because
Mhm.
very few people are using my accountant. And then live experts, which I'm not stoked to see, but I understand. Sure.
Be nice if we
Now
could just kick it down to the curb there. So,
okay, but as far as my accountant goes, I have a class that I'm teaching on June 17th, for QBOA for pro advisors, and I actually teach you how to communicate with your clients through the My Accountant tool. So I'll have a link to that in that class in the show notes as well. By the time you hear this, the recording is going to be up, so you can watch it anytime.
so since there's live experts, does that mean that there's dead experts as well?
Um, I can make a dead to me joke, but I probably shouldn't. Okay, right now when I click on live experts, nothing happens, so, we'll go with that. So so again, the accounting section is essentially the transactions section from before, but now it's named a little bit better because it really is all of your accounting tools. So, like I said, these open and collapse. So I can open the accounting section when I need something in it and then collapse it when I'm done. And then below that is expenses, where I see expense transactions, vendors, bills, bill payments, mileage, employees, contractors, 1099s, a lot of the things that we're used to seeing. But 1099s, for example, is called forward, where it wasn't before. And so when I'm doing my expense work, I can open the expense section, and when I'm done, I can close it.
Yeah, because before you would have to go to vendors and then click on prepare 1099s. Now you can actually see it as its own separate item.
Exactly. All right. The next section is sales and get paid, which seems a little strange for me that it says "and get paid," but again, they're really trying to highlight all the different ways that you can get paid, which we've been talking about in previous episodes of the podcast constantly for the last few months. So one of the things that's new here is there is a sales overview, which gives you that same payment funnel that we talked about from the dashboard, and then a quick actions section with literally shortcuts to every single way that you can take money. And there are 11 of them on the list. Then there's a section for tasks. There's then some graphs. And so the overview is a nice place to just kind of get a handle of where you are on it with your money. Then it has the sales transactions, which is the same window that we're used to from before, and invoices and payment links and recurring payments and sales orders, sales channels is new here. That was the commerce section. That was somewhere else before, and now it's all been wrapped in.
Sales orders. Wait a minute. Go back to sales orders.
Sales orders.
But that has to do with the commerce, right? So it's if you're using commerce, like with Shopify, where there is a sales order associated with those transactions, that's where sales orders come in, not necessarily a separate transaction type that wouldn't be needing commerce, right?
Well, that was what I originally thought was that it was tied directly to commerce, but I actually started clicking buttons, and sales orders are their own genuine transaction type. So if you are not running commerce, but you still need sales orders, you can still use them. When
Mhm.
I clicked on sales orders here in the demo, it's not ready to roll yet. It says we're still working on it. We don't support bundles and custom fields yet. They're working on it. So there's a button that says, yes, give me early access. And when I click on that, I do have a genuine sales order. So what a sales order does is if you're running inventory, it allows you to count that inventory as having been pulled so that you can get an accurate count.
And a lot of
Okay.
people would use estimates as sales orders if they weren't using inventory because they're not too concerned about available quantities as opposed to what's on hand.
Right. But sometimes it's nice just to know what orders your department's supposed to fill. And so
Mhm.
this is perfect for that. So sales orders are there, which is cool. Something else that's new, deposits has been renamed to payouts, which makes sense because payout is the terminology used across all of the different eh, commerce apps. And that also distinguishes it from quote unquote making a deposit, which is an action that you do to get everything out of undeposited funds. So the payouts is specific to QuickBooks payments, but there's an easy place where you can go to see what your merchant services has been deposited, when it's expected, what has been batched together, and what the fees are.
And there's plenty of opportunities for Intuit to be consistent in their terminology because they have deposited all over the screen.
Yeah, deposits from QuickBooks payments, and so that should say payouts there also. There's also a section here for channel payouts. And so if you have integrated your Shopify, Amazon seller, eBay, or Etsy, there's the channel payouts is here as well. All right. So that's the sales section. Next up is the customer hub, which at the moment only has two tabs for your customers list, which is, exactly what you're already used to with your customers. There's that unbilled income that we were talking about earlier.
Mhm.
And a separate tab just for estimates. But we know for a fact that this is going to be buffed out with customer resource management, CRM tools, so that you can actually have your sales pipelines here. You can put in your leads that have not yet become customers. And this is also where MailChimp is going to live so that you can send out email newsletters to your prospective clients as well as your existing customers.
It's under construction.
Under construction. Yep. All right. The next section is payroll and HR. This is the same section as it was before. They've just added HR to it. And one of the reasons for that, and Matthew and I discussed this in a couple episodes ago in the Now You Know for June, that HR tools have been available with Payroll Premium and Elite for years, but nobody's taken advantage of them. So you can find out your employment laws for your state and what what compliance considerations you have for the number of employees and their locations, and it really helps you dial in your HR. There's templates, there's educational resources, and an employee manual as well. So that's why they call this payroll and HR to make people realize, hey, if you've subscribed, you have these extra tools you're not using.
A little annoying that contractors is under payroll, but that's more of a tax thing with 1099s. But I understand why they put it there because there's direct deposit. That's part of the QuickBooks Online payroll ecosystem is
Right.
the contractor payments. But technically, from an accounting perspective, it's not payroll.
And contractors is actually one of the first things we've seen that really does that is living in 2 different areas. Contractors is up under expenses, but contractors is also under payroll because you can pay your contractors through QBO payroll. So that's why it's there. All right, next section is time. And so there's a new time overview screen and then a screen for time entries. And this is where they are moving the entire former T-Sheets integration all the way into QBO. So we're going to see more here that where you had to go to a different website to run QuickBooks Time, again, the former T-Sheets, it's now all going to be here in this section.
And you do have plenty of places to, well, at least in this area, to go to the classic QuickBooks Time, but that will actually take you out to QuickBooks Time or T-Sheets, right?
Right. And that eventually is going to be deprecated. That's going to be going away and will all be here under this time section. Okay. The next section is projects. There's only one thing here, just projects. So we're going to keep on going. Then there's an inventory section for, and your products and services are here, your sales orders, purchase orders, and shipping labels. If you haven't listened to the Now You Know episode with Matthew Fulton for June, we talk about shipping labels that they are now being wrapped into the inventory module. And inventory is no longer just going to be in Plus. You can actually pay for a standalone inventory module no matter what version of QBO you're using.
Interesting.
And next section is sales tax. That's the same as the sales tax as it was. Then we have business tax, and there's this is brand new. I have not seen this yet. Let's see what's here.
There's your deductions again.
Ooh. Ooh, this is
I
kinda
would imagine this
cool.
is a marketing opportunity for the QuickBooks tax service that's being handled by QuickBooks or TurboTax, where they can put their services or put forth their potential services of, hey, if you'd like us to do your business taxes, we can do that.
Yeah, so what this is doing is this is breaking down the income and deductions, and it's showing the different tax categories, including mapping. And I wonder where this mapping goes. Okay, there's a link that says map these accounts to a tax category. Let's see what happens when I click it. Manage account mapping. And it's got suggested
Some
tax
AI
categories.
suggestions in here.
Ooh. That's really interesting. So this is I wonder if this is pulling out the tool from the ProAdvisor, uh, books review, where you can map all of the detail types so that you can import into ProConnect Tax.
Yeah, I'm
Or
wondering if you don't, if customers would see this, or you see it because you're an accountant user on this file.
that is a fine question indeed.
Yeah, 'cause this could certainly be the books to tax or the prep for taxes section that accountants would be able to see if they were connecting their QuickBooks Online accountant with their Pro Connect tax.
Yeah.
I almost called it by its old name.
Well, if this is what we think it is, either it's going to create a direct path into ProConnect Tax, or it's going to give you a report that you can give to your accountant that actually has all of your tax mappings in place already. Although personally, I would want my accountant to go in and map this rather than a business owner who might not know what they're doing. And then next it has a year-end filing. There's what you
There
were
it
just
is.
talking about.
Of
Okay, so
course,
there's
we're gonna see the advertisement.
yeah. So the business tax section has a subsection called year-end filing that goes direct to TurboTax so that you can sign up for your TurboTax and get your taxes filed right from the system. So for those tax preparers out there, you might want to put in some feedback about this, but we know that this is going to make life easier for a lot of business owners who are already using TurboTax. Okay. The next section is lending, and this is going to probably be the area where Credit Karma comes into play.
Mm.
So there's an overview section, there's a line of credit section, and QuickBooks checking. And so this is all of the financial tools that are available through QuickBooks and its partners. When I'm on the line of credit, it's giving me options to put in an application with OnDeck and Fundbox. Um, so, yeah, it's kinda nice that you can leverage some money from here if you want to. It says revolving lines of credit from 6,000 to 100,000, flexible repayment terms of 1 year to 2 years, no origination and maintenance fees. I think when I did play with this at one point, one of the interest rates was, like, 36%, but I don't know if that's because it was a fake company with this negative income, and so it gave me a really high rate.
Now, this isn't the pre-funding, or is this just
Mm-mm.
completely like QuickBooks Capital, what it used to be? Is this like
Yeah.
rebranded QuickBooks Capital?
Yeah, this is the equivalent of QuickBooks Capital, and I am 100% sure that the underpinnings are Credit Karma.
Got it.
Okay. Alright, so that is the whole entire left navigation. So, like I said, it's 90% familiar, 10% rearranged, and they're pulling out a lot of features that you didn't know were there that you've just been ignoring, so that you should actually take some time and explore those. Okay, there's a couple other things that in the interface that we want to call out. There's the 2 icons in the upper left of the thin navigation strip. There's a create button and a bookmarks button. The create button, that's just the plus new button that has always been there. It just instead of new, it's create. Exactly the same. And then there's a bookmarks button. Dan, do you want to talk about bookmarks?
Yeah, so a lot of people were wondering when they were seeing this before, it's like, well, how do I save a bookmark? So when you see, and in the old interface, it was, or the old platform, you would have to kind of sneak up on the bookmark to the icon to actually make it a bookmark. So now when you're in the apps where that has that sub or that secondary menu, you're now going to be able to see the little bookmark icon and just click on it, and then that's going to put it in the shortcuts.
Yep, there it is. I also the thing that I like about this bookmarks is it's available no matter where you are in the whole interface. So even if you don't have the navigation flyout pane showing, you can get to those bookmarks from anywhere. So, I always have chart of accounts and bank transactions in there. But
And to
I also, put in, for example, my reminders list with all my recurring transactions and my task lists and my favorite reports as well. I discovered that, I like to make a P&L, by year, and so I've got, like, the whole entire company with columns by year, and I refer to that all the time, and so I've discovered that you can actually run a report and bookmark a report as well.
and the from that hovering over that bookmark menu, you now have at the bottom to bookmark the current page. So even if you're just navigating around, it's like, oh, I would really like this to be bookmarked, but how do I get here? Whatever page you happen to be on, you can just bookmark it right from the bookmarks menu. or the bookmarks icon.
Mhm. And then there's a pencil in the bookmarks as well, and I can see at the top the bookmarks that I've already created with the ability to rearrange them, and then below that, it has just about everything that I can imagine that I want to check off, so you can build your own bookmarks menu.
And there's no rhyme or reason. I can see they're not alphabetical here, but fortunately they put a search at the top. So you can just start searching for it and then it'll find it in the bookmarks options and then you just select it and
Yeah,
rearrange it however you see fit.
yeah. Now when I searched for reminders here and it didn't actually find it, but it is good that I can get to the reminders, from all the way any screen that you want to from wherever you are and then add that bookmark.
Yeah,
So,
very similar to the icon bar from the desktop days where you could just save anything to the icon bar. Very much the same as your favorites or bookmarks here.
yeah. So then across the top, there's another gray bar, and so the same drop down that we're used to from QBOA to switch between your clients is all right there. The search has been moved instead of being in a magnifying glass on the far right, it's a big bar right across the top. And one of the things that's really cool with it is that you can use natural language to search for things. So I can search for invoices over $1,000, and then it will pull up
Presumably.
all of my invoices over $1,000,
There
and
you go.
there they are. So that's pretty cool. Continuing over to the right-hand side, there's the My Experts, which I think leads you to, right now it says My Accountant, there's not much under there, and then the briefcase. So for all of you using QBOA, the briefcase is no longer on the left, it's over on the right. Then there is I can't get rid of that
You're
window.
seeing my experts is only showing my accountant for you because you are listed as the accountant on this file. But if you
Oh.
are not uh, the accountant user, then your clients will actually see a whole lot of other options to choose from other than my accountant.
Oh, interesting, like QuickBooks Live, I assume.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. So then the accountant's toolbox is there. So you can get right back to your familiar tools from there, and of course, you can bookmark the ones you use a lot, like reclassify. Then there's an integrations, which it looks like a little plug, and that is all of your third-party apps, and it will show you which ones are connected and functioning, which ones you might have disconnected. And then there's a link to the integrations overview, and it takes you to a whole integrations screen. There's a bell up at the top that has notifications and reminders. And then the gear, it continues to be up in the upper right, and so that's the familiar gear that you are used to. So the last icons over on the right are the same help icon that we're used to, and your circle with your name on it to get to your account. So overall, I think the fear people have is kind of a nothing burger. I've been using it for a couple weeks, and I like it. How about you?
yeah, it's just the biggest thing, especially with the Pro Advisor QuickBooks accountant community. Um, when you figure you're getting used to something, they go ahead and change it. But that's kind of the world that we live in these days. Is that if you don't like the way things are, wait a week, it'll
Mhm.
change. If you like the way things are, wait a week, it will change as well.
Yeah. Well, I wanna take a little bit more active of an approach with it. We know this is happening, and and it's happening now. So when it becomes available to you, turn it on. And start using it and put in the feedback so that you can have your opinions represented. If there's something that you want to change about it, if there's something that doesn't work for you or you'd like to improve, by all means, put in the feedback now so that they can build it in to meet your specific desires.
Yeah, this isn't
So,
going to be something that we are going to be able to resist the change to. it is going to take place regardless, but how much of an active role you are in using it and making it better will make it better for you and everyone else, including your clients.
Exactly. Like the Borg say, resistance is futile.
Exactly.
Okay. So, here's the timelines for when this is rolling out. So, right now, it's in beta. Starting July 1st, every your clients are going to be able to opt into the new experience, or you pro advisors can opt your clients in, and you can opt back out again. In August, and the timeline is a whole month, they don't have specific dates, but in August, anybody who has not already opted in is going to be automatically opted in. So in August, we're gonna see it start appearing everywhere, but you still have the choice to opt out. In September, all of the
September
account
31st?
what's that?
It says September 31st.
It does say September 31st. Um, so in September, all the accountant users are going to get it. It's going to be in QBOA, and all clients will be automatically opted in, but you are, not going to be able to opt out after September 22nd. So right now, the cut date for the new experience being live and permanent is September 22nd. All of us content creators are going to be spending our entire summer redoing all of our trainings so that we have the training for you in the new interface.
Yeah, September 31st can't come soon enough, right?
Right. Alright, so by September 31st, we will all be on the new version. Alright, so Dan, thank you for joining me on this tour. What's going on in your world?
Oh, well, I am looking forward to, well, I'm feel having some serious FOMO of not going to, Scaling New Heights this year.
You're not
Um,
gonna be there?
no, no, we got some personal, events going on, so unfortunately we can't make that. Can't be in 2 places at once. So I'll miss seeing everyone there. But in July, we're going to be starting our AI cohort with Ted. And just created this awesome spreadsheet resource for conversions, which I'll put in the show notes of what is in QuickBooks Desktop, what is in QuickBooks Online, and how it converts. So people can see ahead of time, so it's not so surprising.
Oh, that's great. I'll
How
look
about
forward to
you?
seeing that. I'm gonna look forward to seeing that because, I have that book on doing
Yeah.
conversions and my conversions course, and so hopefully we can collaborate on that a little
Yeah,
bit.
love to do
Yeah.
that. How about you? What's going on with you?
For me, I am gearing up for my QuickBooks hands-on training class that starts on July 21st, and so it uses my QuickBooks Online textbook, and we're going to actually build companies from scratch using practice sets. And I love that class because it's good not just for beginning bookkeepers and users, but it's good for business owners and experienced people too, because I built the curriculum to really extract not just the routine transactions, but specialized circumstances as well, including all sorts of best practices. And I haven't worked out the details yet, but I'm going to try and find a way to incorporate the new platform in the class. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Awesome. Hands-on is just the best way to learn, I think, especially with QuickBooks with things moving around so much. So being able to have a practice set of data to create a file from scratch, I think that's awesome of you.
Mhm. And then for people who are not up for a 12-week college-style class, starting in September, I'm going to be reteaching my entire curriculum, all 50 classes, in the new interface. And we're gonna give everybody an opportunity to actually join up as a member and get into all of those classes for free. So stay
That's
tuned for
awesome.
information on that. All right. So Dan, thank you very much for joining me,
Thanks
and
for having
we
me.
absolutely, and we will see you in the next one.
I know.